Hello, welcome to the daily vlog. I'm going to get right into it. A quick review of yesterday as far as the fitness goals. So, I did all the squats yesterday. They were really difficult. That was much harder than 2 days ago when I did them. Or 3 days ago. Yeah, 3 days ago. Very difficult, but I did get them done. Here's the big problem, though. Yesterday, I had worship practice with the worship team at my church last night because I'm helping with worship this week. And it was out late, and my sweet tooth got the best of me, and I ended up going and getting some Skittles and sort of blew up the diet a bit last night. Now, I'd been expecting something like this to happen just because I've been feeling like, man, I need that cheat day. I need to go do something like that just to sort of remind myself of what I'm doing. And after I ate all the Skittles, I felt awful. I had the worst night of sleep that I've had in a long time. Now, that's partially due to the Skittles and just feeling sick, but also Nora has been running this low-grade fever for the last couple of days. We think she's teething, acting fine otherwise, but she's got a little fever going on, and so worried about her last night. Throwing some Skittles, and everything was a mess. Terrible night of sleep, so not great. I did the squats, so it's good, but then totally bombed on the diet thing. So back at it today. Back at it. Good start to the day. I did some working out with that giant tire and the sledgehammer, and it's just another reminder of how much I need to work on cardio and how bad I am in that area. So that is going to be a huge focus is cardio. Goals for today. I'm not going to try to do push-ups and the chin-ups and all of that today. And here is the reason why. I'm at this point where normally I would push and try to add on to and make it harder, and then I'd end up hurting one of my shoulders, straining it, going a bit too far, and putting myself out of commission for a couple of weeks and kind of throwing everything off. I don't want to do that this time, so what I'm going to do today is I worked out this morning. I'm just going to focus on the diet today and just trying to be good, healthy about that as much as I can, try to stick to it. And, maybe just try to be a little bit active, not just sit around, get up, do something, move around a bit. But I'm not going to set one of those goals because, again, I don't want to push myself to the point where I get hurt or I strain something and it puts me out of commission for the next few weeks. So that's the plan for today. And now I'm going to get into the thought of the day. And yesterday's thought of the day was a touch controversial, the transgender ban in the military. And I just kind of walked through how my thought process goes, figuring out how I feel about something like that. But I wanted to clarify this as well. And that is that, and sort of walk you through even further how this goes about. My mind is not totally made up on this topic. Because here's the deal. I'm working under the impression, from what I have heard, that there were top generals on Donald Trump's staff who were the ones who basically told him that this was a good idea, that this should happen. And I've heard online, there's all of these current and former military people coming out and saying, yeah, this is what needs to happen for the sake of the people in the military, all of that, right? So I've seen a lot of that, and to me, okay, if they're the ones saying it, then I'm not going to argue with them, say, no, I know how to run your military better than you do. No, I'm not going to do that. But there's also the side that I know there were some GOP lawmakers, some Republican lawmakers who were lobbying for this in order for them to vote for the funding for the border wall. So it was sort of a give and take by Trump in order to get the funding for his border wall. Now, here's the thing. If the GOP lawmakers, if the GOP congressmen and women overrided the generals, I don't know, I've totally messed that up, I'm sure. But if their opinion was taken over the generals and the generals said, hey, don't do this, or the generals were not on board with it, then I have a huge problem with it. Then that's a terrible thing. But to me, this is how I think about it. So that I say that to say, so I'm not totally like one way or the other, haha, we're good. And the other, and I haven't gone out and searched out a bunch of news articles on it, because here's the thing. These news articles are awful. There's so many of them that are just opinion pieces. It's just a hate piece. It's just a hit piece. It's just some reporter's opinion on it. And nobody's quoting current active generals because they're not really going on record right now. They can't really to how we would want them to. So you're getting quotes from previous generals and previous people who now maybe have a political axe to grind, or just sources, anonymous sources. And the big story, the Joint Chiefs were caught off guard by it, which is sort of an ambiguous thing, because that doesn't mean that the Joint Chiefs didn't support it. That doesn't mean that the Joint Chiefs said, that's a terrible plan. It just means that he didn't actually give them the order to do it. He didn't give them the parameters for what this actually means. So they weren't expecting him to tweet about it. But you run with that and you say, haha, see, he went around the generals. Well, okay. Did he? I don't know. So I say all that to let you know. I'm not like this. I haven't made up my mind in concrete that I 100% support it, or I 100% am anti this ban. This is just how I go about thinking about the situation. And to me, as far as the fact that there were lobbyists involved, this is how I think about it. I think that that if the GOP was pushing for it, and I don't justify it because this is not justification, but this is just how politics works. If the GOP was pushing for it, it's because some lobbyists were pushing for it, or somebody who controls, or some person who has sway with their constituents was pushing for it. And if the person who was pushing for it was military, and it was lobbyists representing different military branches or different people in the military saying, hey, we need to do this, then okay, then that makes sense. Then you're not going to be upset about, well, hey, the Congress people said, hey, look, we got all these military people saying we need this to happen. It's in the best interest of the military. So we're not going to give you this funding for the wall until you do this. If that's the case, I don't know. But to me, it's similar to this whole idea of the, as far as education is considered, school choice is a huge issue, right? Giving parents the opportunity to take their kids and put them in a different school if they want to. The money follows the kid. You can take your kid, put them in a different school, and the tax dollars that were going towards their child's education now go to that school. And to me, I think it's a fantastic idea, but it's fought tooth and nail by lobbyists for the teachers' unions, right? So it would be like if Barack Obama had said, hey guys, I want Obamacare to pass years ago, and school choice was a thing. School choice was allowed. You could just go and you could go pick your school, right? And some Democrat congressmen said, hey, we're only going to allow this vote. We're only going to vote for Obamacare if you remove this school choice thing and go back to just these are the districts, here's what it is. Because I got all these teachers telling me that this is what I want to happen, right? And all these teachers saying, well, this makes it weird for us and hard for us because now we have to compete, and it's being a distraction, and it's hard, and whatever. Well, for whatever reason, I don't know why the teachers union fights against the whole idea of school choice, but they do. And they don't just, and so these congressmen wouldn't just be doing it because they're like, screw school choice. It seems like a bad thing. They're doing it because somebody behind them is telling them that they think it's a good idea. And so you have to go look at whoever is lobbying for it and what their justification is for it before you just say, well, a lobbyist was involved and it was a give and take politically, and they said we're only going to give you the money for the border wall if you ban transgender people in the military. Like, it's never just that cut and dry. There's always something else going on. There's always something behind the scenes, which is why this whole idea of rushing to immediate judgment on it, saying, haha, see, the GOP senators use this to get funding for the wall, to hold up funding for the wall. Well, why would they do that? I don't know, but I'm assuming because the GOP has a lot of military support and military backing, former and current military people in the GOP, that it was probably on the prompting, on the push of some of these people pushing their Congress people to do this, to support this. That's just a guess. But that's what I'm saying. You know, all of these stories that you see, it's like, we're only going to go this deep on this story. See, GOP senators did it. Or GOP Congress people did this. Well, okay, why would they do that? Let's go look a little further before we just make up our mind and say, these people are absolutely wrong. See, this is awful. This is a terrible thing. We need to change it. So, that's my take on it. That's where I'm at in the process of sort of deciding how I really feel about this situation. It is a fluid situation, and that's why I think it's a poor idea to jump to a conclusion right now about it completely. Go online and you're going to see all kinds of stories written by current and former military people talking about how they absolutely support this ban because the military isn't about any one person's personal feelings. It's about creating a force strong enough to defend the country regardless of feelings. And they don't allow people to be in the military if they have asthma, if they have diabetes, if they have some of these medical things that really are very, very manageable and very easy. And so they're like, so transgender, which means if they're transitioning, means a lot of medical procedures and different expenses and different complications. And you're not going to be able to get access to your hormone medications when you're overseas deployed. So it doesn't really necessarily make sense that you're going to deny somebody with manageable asthma, but say transgender, let's go for it. If you're going to cover this medication. So I'm just saying there's a lot involved in this particular topic. And to just narrow it down to, well, you hate the LGBTQ, whatever the rest of them are. It seems to keep changing and adding things. Whatever that is, you hate this community. It's the only reason this is happening. Is naive, it's irresponsible, and it's adding to the fact that we can't have a civil discussion about any of this. We can't actually look at the issues and just say, look, let's look at this as reasonable people. Does this make sense? What are we actually doing here? And stop this politics of hate and anger and this vitriol and this. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Very frustrating. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Just wanted to continue with that thought. I'm going to continue to move down this train of thought in these videos. I'm going to continue to explain sort of how I go about this and where I'm at on some of these things. And my goal is not to tell you guys, I'm right, you're wrong. Because as you can see, I haven't made up my mind 100% on this. I'm trying to look further, deeper into it, instead of just saying, here's what I think, this is it, deal with it. The goal is to have discussion and to encourage people to say, well, let's look at other sides of this before we just start posting things on Facebook and saying that somebody's an awful human being for one reason or another. Okay? So sorry that was long. When we get into these political things, I tend to go a little bit long-winded because I want to make sure that I explain myself as best as I can, because I know these are touchy topics, very touchy. So leave a comment below. Any of this doesn't make sense, you agree, completely disagree. Tim, you're insane, that's ridiculous. Tim, I agree completely. Whatever you want to say, leave a comment below. If you want to ask me about a different topic, go for it. And I will just keep kind of explaining where I'm at with some of these thoughts, how I go about my opinion on some of these issues, and we'll just run with it. We'll see what happens. So anyway, sorry this video is so long. If you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much, and I will see you guys tomorrow.